All right, everyone. It's definitely something that you probably have noticed on this channel. I love talking about linguistics. I'm a little bit obsessed with the topic, actually, to a worrying degree sometimes. I'm going to talk about some Gen Z slang today because legacy media, all of these old fogies, they fucking matured. They became stuffy adults and they're just not with it. They just don't understand what the fuck is going on. This is going to be both an academic and a memetic analysis of some of this terminology. 6-7 is one of the big ones. There's actually some viral videos about this. 6-7 is basically just a stand-in term. You could equivocate it in some cases situationally with the term midwit popularized by millennials. Something that is, it's acceptable, it's okay, it's between a 6 and a 7, that girl is a 6-7 or something like that. More often, it's used as a filler term that really doesn't have any further meaning at all, and it confuses the old people in society. It is an example of a language creole, though, actually. When terminology develops, and school kids are the best at this, above all other groups of people, kids that are like in that, tween to teen demographic are the best at making language creoles. Sounds like if fucking Lord of the Flies were real life, they'd probably develop their own language, I suppose. Effectively, you're trying to get around rules with regards to what you're saying. Like, you're not allowed to say fuck in school, but you can say like, what the fudge? Something like that. Everyone knows what you mean. It's just a blanket term for that basic same meaning that won't get you in trouble. So apparently another term, and I didn't hear this one until recently, and there is, by the way, link in the description, the single most cringe adult explanation. It's like some 40-something chick, the most cringe explanation of this terminology. I've heard 6-7 before. At this point, pretty much everyone has. It'll fall out of favor fairly quickly because now adults are appropriating the term. It'd be funny. Millennials once again trolling Gen Z. Another one is the term mustard. Now, this one is fascinating. The idea that you have mustard. It's basically kind of a play on the term muster when you think about it. It's not a condiment. In this particular instance, it means to have the ability to go, to have the ability, you've got the force, so to speak, behind you. You've got your mustard. The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure that that term was actually used for effectively the same reason back in the Victorian era. And this brings me to an entire linguistic fucking campaign that's lasted more than 100 years. A lot of the terminology that's being used today by millennials and by Gen Z, by younger people in society, young or youngish, a lot of it dates back 100 years, like your great-grandparents might have been using that same terminology. The same is true of spirituality. The New Age movement of the 60s is nothing more than a psychedelic rehash of the Victorian era. They just swapped out the laudanum for the LSD. The whole vibes thing, the term vibe being used, wow, that's vibing, man. Dude, that term was being used over a century ago. Again, you don't understand it. Your great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, they were drawing pentagrams on the floor and going to seances and crazy shit like that, and they use the same exact terminology. Even the New Age movement in and of itself, it's not really a New Age at this point, it's over 100 years old. It's just you got more spooky shit in it now, like UFOs and things of that nature, and different medications. These days, we don't tend to give kids cocaine drops for their teething, by the way. You mean the apothecarian's not allowed to sell heroin anymore? What's the world coming to? That was back in the 1920s, dude. It's 100 years old. I love language creoles, though. Kids are always going to develop slang terms, and I kind of hate the term slang because, I mean, sometimes it fits in, but oftentimes it's almost like a different language is being spoken because you have so many terms being created and sometimes they're localized and sometimes they take off in the age of certainly the internet and stuff like that. Oftentimes these things can become totally viral. And so all of a sudden, some kid in Mongolia that's uttering a phrase that was popularized originally in Illinois, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. It's like a secret language. Creoles often develop in times where there is overt authoritarianism. What's more authoritarian than a school or a prison? And they are basically the same thing. The food lunches are about the same as well. There's no difference. We've got an authoritarian structure in which people are banned from exhibiting certain expression. So they simply find a way around it. No, no, I didn't call him an asshole. I called him a pile of baloney. And it turns out that, of course, everyone's using them interchangeably. You can do this with any word, by the way. You can swap out any form of language. You can also talk in foreign languages. Chinga tu madre, dude. Uh, and most people, they don't understand what you're saying unless they happen to speak Spanish. Le fou, so something like that. Just don't call anyone a cankerher if you happen to be in the Netherlands. That's probably a good way to get punched. It would be hysterical, though, if foreign languages as well were incorporated into these creoles, and sometimes they are, admittedly. But then it's an even better workaround. You think that your teachers speak Dutch? Probably not. Mm. God damn, this tea is fucking good. It's like crack. I went on with Sleazy last night, and then after the show, you wouldn't believe it. He reaches into his pompadour and he got some rocks straight from Hunter Biden, and then we smoked the whole thing. Just a joke. But no, the legacy media though is they have a perpetual problem with this. It's just like the legacy media was obsessed over us millennials when we were Gen Z's age. Oh my God, Pokemon is from the devil. Pokemon is going to rot people's brains. They're spending too much time on the computers. They're getting violent because of video games. They're using all these words that we don't understand. Yeah, because you got old. So-called mature. I've noticed that most people who are 35 or older, they're not really mature at all. They've gotten old, but they're not mature. Just saying. I put myself in the category of I refuse to grow up. Fuck you. That's exactly what I like to say. Thankfully, I get paid to do so it works for everyone. Yeah, being normal and rational is so fucking boring. But I like how these terms are reappropriated by generation after generation. Like, again, the term vibes. That term is used in a number of documents I have personally edited from the late 1800s. We're talking like the Blavatsky era. None of these kids even know anything about that shit. Unless they happen to be into magic and sorcery and the paranormal, maybe they've picked up a copy of one of my books. It's entirely possible. I think I've sold about 500,000 of them. Something like that. It's at least close. And so it's good education. I like to think that I'm a positive influence on people's ability to read and so forth. But that terminology technically is completely dated. But then people forgot about the terminology and then they revived it later. Victorian era, New Age sort of hippie trippy late 60s, early 70s, and now the modern era. It bounces around in like 50-year chunks more than anything else. It's interesting. Linguistics also follows mathematical patterns, ones that most people do not notice because they have not read these works. Very few people are reading works from the 1800s at this point. Although you should definitely pick up some copies. It doesn't have to be my works. Anything that's old like that. You're going to find all sorts of words and you'll be like, this sounds like something my son just said. My son's 12. What gives here? It's because of the recycling of language. That Creole can come back over and over again, and the meanings can change, sometimes subtly, sometimes drastically, like saying, well, yeah, I got my mustard. Yeah, I believe it's from a Kendrick Lamar song, if I remember correctly. But that term definitely was used in a similar context at least 100 years ago. Well, 150, give or take a couple of decades or so. I've seen it before. It's very, very interesting. It's also interesting how it does topically sound like muster. It's kind of a similar topic that you're actually referring to, but it's a different word. And so it sort of becomes a coded language. I don't know. I'm just ranting. I just get fascinated by linguistics, especially with regards to language creoles. So these kids are literally inventing their own language. Every generation does that. You say bully. We use the term bully to denote somebody on the schoolyard who wants to punch you or something like that. Spills your milk all over you and laughs at you. But bully can also mean forceful, strong, powerful, like the usage of the Teddy Roosevelt era. Bully. It's good. It's strong. It's a good idea. Something like that. It's basically the same concept. It changes from decade to decade and stuff like that, but these adults trying to see none of these people have studied linguistics, I assure you. Trying to watch them analyze Gen Z language is like the most cringe thing ever. Oh, I can't wait until Generation Alpha becomes a few years older and they start lending themselves in. When Gen Z's more, moving towards their 30s and Generation Alpha, they're the ones that inherit the crown, so to speak, of youth. It's going to be so funny seeing the language they use. This kind of verges in on Generation Alpha. The switchover is already, by the way, happening. They're still acting like it's just Gen Z. Dude, this has already bled well into the older generation alphas. They're adopting the same language. They're going to modify it further, and they'll have their own creoles, and you won't know what the fuck they're talking about. Maybe you should spend more time trying to understand it before you make news articles about it because, man, you're fucking lame. Of course, the term lame is now itself lame as well and an indicator of my advanced age, which is hysterical. That's about all. Peace out.